The soft jingle of the doorbell echoed as Malik, a 17-year-old black teenager, stepped into the upscale boutique. The interior was sleek, white tile floors, clean glass shelves, track lighting spotlighting rows of high-end sneakers and watches. Malik walked in with quiet confidence. He wasn't loud. He wasn't rude. He was just curious. His hoodie was clean, jeans pressed, phone in hand. He gave a quick glance around and nodded politely at the white man behind the counter. "Hey, how's it going?" he said, voice warm, casual. The clerk didn't smile. Greg, mid-40s, stiff button-up, slick hair, watched him like a security camera come to life. "Can I help you with something?" he asked sharply, not looking up from his tablet. "Just browsing," Malik replied, moving toward the sneaker wall. Greg's eyes followed every step. As Malik reached out to touch a pair of limited edition Jordans, the clerk stepped forward quickly, almost too quickly. "Those run about $900, he said. "We don't keep replicas on the shelf. Just letting you know." Malik raised an eyebrow. "I know," he replied calmly. "That's why I'm here?" Greg folded his arms. "If you're not buying, I'd prefer you not handle them." The tone wasn't just rude. It was deliberate. Coded. Cold. Other customers, all white, milled about freely. One woman flipped through designer purses with her teenage daughter. A man in a tracksuit handled watches without being spoken to. Malik stepped back, uncomfortable now. He looked toward the exit, then back at the wall. His shoulders tensed. "I'm not stealing, if that's what you're thinking," he said quietly. Greg's response was ice. "Didn't say that. But people your age, you know how it is. Seen a lot of walk-ins." "People my age?" Malik repeated. "Or people my color?" A pause. A silent standoff. The clerk took a step closer, lowered his voice. "I think it's best if you leave." Malik stared at him. "You serious?" "I'm not gonna argue. I have regular clients in here. If you're not buying, then have a good day." The woman and her daughter had stopped browsing. The man by the watches glanced over, then looked away. No one said anything. Malik stood for another moment, chest rising and falling. His pride fought with his restraint. Then, wordlessly, he turned around and walked out. The bell jingled again. Louder this time. EXT, store, day. Outside, Malik stood on the sidewalk, staring at his reflection in the store window. He looked at himself. Clean. Calm. Not a threat. Just unseen. He pulled out his phone. Dialed. A deep, confident voice answered. "This is Raymond." Malik's voice cracked slightly. "They kicked me out. Pause. Said I didn't belong. Treated me like I was gonna steal something. Like trash." Another pause. No anger in the voice on the line. "Just steal." "What store?" "West and Holden. Downtown." A breath. Then the words that would shift everything. "Don't move. I'm on my way." EXT outside the store, day. Malik sat on a cold metal bench just a few steps from the boutique's polished windows. He stared down at the pavement, his sneaker tapping anxiously. The sky above had clouded over slightly, the sharp light of morning replaced with a muted gray. His phone was still in his hand. The call had ended, but his heart was still racing. Shame. Not because he'd done anything wrong, but because he hadn't done anything at all, and still they looked at him like a threat. Across the street, people walked freely with shopping bags, smiles, headphones. No one looked his way. To them, he was just a kid sitting on a bench. But soon, they'd all look. Black SUV moving minutes later. Inside a sleek black Escalade, Raymond Pierce sat silently, his gaze locked forward. Early 50s, sharp-lined jaw, skin rich and smooth, dressed in a tailored navy coat with subtle cufflinks. A man who had fought every inch of his way through a world built to doubt him. Next to him, his assistant swiped on a tablet nervously. "Do you want me to call corporate?" Raymond raised a hand slightly. "No." "Should I notify PR in case?" "No." His voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. There was gravity in it. The assistant fell silent. Raymond turned to the driver. "Park directly in front. I don't care if it's a fire zone." EXT, boutique, later. Malik looked up at the sound of the engine. The black SUV pulled up slow and smooth, stopping right in front of the boutique entrance. The door opened. Raymond stepped out. People noticed immediately, a few passers-by turned their heads. His presence was undeniable. Commanding. Malik stood quickly. "Dad, are you all right?" His father didn't ask it softly but thoroughly, like a man who'd spent his life learning how to scan a situation in 3 seconds. Malik nodded. "I didn't yell. I didn't steal. I didn't even touch anything. He looked at me and Raymond placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to explain it. I've lived it." He turned to the boutique. "Let's go." Boutique, continuous. The bell jingled again as the door opened. Greg, the same clerk from earlier, looked up from behind the counter. His eyes flicked to Malik, then to Raymond. His body stiffened, mouth tightening with polite discomfort. "Oh." You're back, Greg said slowly. Is there something I can help you with? Raymond stepped forward with the composure of a man who had walked through far more difficult doors. Yes. My son came in here earlier. He was browsing. Didn't break anything. Didn't raise his voice. Yet you threw him out. Greg forced a chuckle, trying to maintain control. Sir, I was just following store policy. We've had incidents with teenagers before and Raymond raised a hand slightly. It was enough to stop the sentence cold. You didn't throw out anyone else. Only him. Greg hesitated. With respect, I wasn't profiling anyone. No, Raymond interrupted calmly. You were assuming. And assumptions get expensive when they're pointed at the wrong people. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a slim black wallet. From it, he slid a metallic black credit card across the glass counter. The kind of card that didn't have a spending limit. Or a logo. Greg blinked, processing. I'm here to make a purchase, Raymond said. And a point. Greg swallowed. Of course, sir. Let me get the manager, You're looking at him. Greg froze. Excuse me. Raymond Pierce. Majority investor in the West and Holden Retail Group. This location is technically mine. The boutique felt suddenly much smaller. Other customers had gone quiet. A woman near the back put down a purse she had been holding. Raymond leaned slightly forward. I'll be reviewing the footage and your conduct. In the meantime, you're dismissed. Greg's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Please leave the floor. I'll have someone collect your statement. Malik stood watching. Still. Quiet. His father didn't yell. Didn't gloat. Just corrected the system in real time. For the first time, Malik didn't feel like the kid on the bench. He felt seen. The room was still. The kind of silence that falls when someone of true authority speaks and no one dares to follow. Greg slowly backed away from the counter. His face, once smug and cocky, was now pale, stunned. He turned toward the side hallway that led to the stockroom, glancing around for backup that wouldn't come. Raymond turned to the assistant manager, a young white woman who'd been standing awkwardly near the sunglasses display. Please get me your employee conduct files and today's security footage. Why, yes, Mr. Pierce, she stammered, quickly disappearing into the back. Other customers had stopped pretending to shop. One older man slowly put a wristwatch back on its holder. A mother took her daughter's hand and quietly exited the store. Even the music, once playing some trendy R&B, had stopped, like the system itself understood the shift. Malik stood to the side, watching everything unfold. Not with vengeance in his eyes, but with quiet awe. This was what power looked like when it didn't have to prove itself. Raymond turned to face the store, his voice calm but firm, addressing everyone. This store serves people of all backgrounds, all income levels, and all appearances. It doesn't matter if you wear a suit or a hoodie if you walk through these doors. You deserve respect. A pause. Because if this company can't treat people with dignity, it doesn't deserve to exist. A beat. That's not corporate policy. That's my policy. The silence was deep. Uncomfortable. But necessary. Greg reappeared from the side door, clearly rattled. He approached slowly. Mr. Pierce. I'd just like to say I didn't mean to cause offense. I've been working here for years. We've had incidents in the past. Raymond didn't move. You didn't offend me. You insulted my son. I didn't know who he was. Raymond's eyes locked on him. That's exactly the problem. The clerk blinked. If he had walked in wearing a suit or had a driver or held this card in his hand, Raymond tapped the metal credit card still lying on the counter, you would have bent over backward. But because he walked in as himself, young, black, confident, you saw him as a threat. Greg's mouth opened, but no excuse could fix it. You don't need more training, Raymond said, stepping closer. You need humility. And a new job. The assistant manager returned with a small folder of files and a flash drive. Here's the conduct log, Mr. Pierce. And security footage from the last 24 hours. Thank you, Raymond said, his voice softening. He glanced at the employees still in the store. Anyone else here who believes in judging people by how they look can leave now too. No one moved. Good. Raymond turned back to Malik, who had stayed by the wall, respectful, restrained. Pick anything you like, he said. What? Malik asked, eyes widening. Anything. It's yours. Malik looked around, unsure. Then slowly walked over to the sneaker wall. He looked at the pair that had started it all, the Jordans. He picked them up. The same shoes he hadn't been allowed to touch. He walked to the counter. Raymond was already there, tapping the card gently on the glass. Make sure they fit, his father added with a grin. Malik smiled, truly smiled, for the first time since entering the store. EXT boutique moments later. The doors opened again. Raymond and Malik stepped out side by side. This time heads turned for a different reason. Not because of what Malik wore, but because of who he was with and who he had always been. Corporate boardroom day. Glass walls. A long polished table. Minimalist art. City skyline glowing through the floor-to-ceiling windows. At the head sat Raymond Pierce, calm, poised, unmoving. Around him, board members, legal counsel, PR representatives. All white or light-skinned, all noticeably tense. He tapped his fingers once on the table. The silence shattered. "Let's begin." A younger executive cleared his throat. "Mr. Pierce, we're aware of the incident at the West and Holden downtown store. The footage was concerning. We agree immediate action is necessary." "Not just immediate," Raymond said. "Comprehensive." He looked directly at the head of operations. "How many complaints have we received in the last 5 years regarding profiling or mistreatment in our stores?" The man hesitated, then opened a report. 84 formal reports. 27 of them involved racial language or profiling behavior. "How many led to terminations?" Pause. "Too long." 2. Raymond leaned back. "So it wasn't a store problem. It's a culture problem." The room fell still. Int. Boutique, next day. New posters had gone up. "Respect is not optional. Zero tolerance for discrimination." The store layout had changed, friendlier signage, more diversity in advertisements. But what struck customers most was the staff. Different faces. Polite voices. A subtle but noticeable shift in energy. Behind the counter now stood Marcia, a black woman in her 30s, confident and clear-eyed. She greeted every person with a smile, regardless of what they wore. Malik returned that afternoon, alone this time, to see the changes. He walked through the door. Marcia looked up and smiled. "Welcome in. Let me know if you need anything. No judgment. No assumption. Just welcome." Int. Corporate press room, later. Cameras clicked. Reporters crowded around a podium with the West and Holden logo. Raymond stepped up wearing a muted navy suit. No entourage. Just him. "A few days ago, my son was profiled and removed from one of our stores. Not because he caused trouble. Not because he broke policy. But because he fit a narrative that this country has allowed to exist for far too long. That narrative ends here." Flashes lit the room. Journalists raised their phones. "We are launching a mandatory anti-bias training program across every location. We are restructuring management review systems. And we are donating $2 million to support youth equity initiatives in my son's name." Pause. "But more than that, we're watching. No more silence. No more tolerance for intolerance. This wasn't just about a store. It was about a mindset. And we're tearing it down." Int. School hallway day. Malik opened his locker. A few students nearby looked his way. Some with respect. Others with awe. One classmate approached, a white boy who used to keep his distance. "Hey, I saw your dad on the news." Malik nodded. "That was wild, man." He's like, "Real?" "Yeah," Malik said with a half smile. "He is." Int. Boutique, final shot of the day. A new sign hung above the entrance. "Everyone belongs." A young kid, Hispanic, wearing an oversized hoodie, hesitated outside the door. Marcia caught his eye. She waved. He entered. Int. Raymond's study, night. The room glowed with soft, warm light. Bookshelves lined the walls, not decorative, but lived in. Leather-bound volumes, family photos, awards. Behind a sleek desk, a large window overlooked the glittering city. Raymond sat in a high-backed chair, fingers steepled in thought. Across from him, Malik sat quietly on the leather sofa, a cup of hot tea in his hands, untouched. For a moment, neither spoke. "You didn't have to do all that," Malik said finally. His voice was calm, but a little unsure. Raymond looked up. "No," he said. "I didn't." A pause. He leaned forward slightly. "But I chose to. Because silence is a choice too." Malik stared down at the steam rising from his cup. "I wasn't afraid," he said. "I was just tired. Tired of them looking at me like I'm nothing. Like I don't belong." Raymond nodded slowly. "That's because they want you to believe that. The moment you start questioning your worth, they've already won." He stood up and walked toward the window, hands in his pockets. "You know how many times I've been followed in a store? How many times I've been called, sir, through gritted teeth, only to be doubted a second later? And you know what changed when I made my first $1 million?" He turned and faced his son. "Nothing." Malik looked up. "Then what's the point?" Raymond smiled faintly. "The point is that I didn't rise so they'd like me. I rose so they couldn't ignore me. And now, I use that position so they can't ignore you either." Silence again, but this time it wasn't uncomfortable. It was weighty. Sacred. Raymond walked to a shelf, pulled out a framed photo. In it, a younger Raymond standing in front of a barbershop in a cheap polo, holding baby Malik in one arm and a cardboard sign that read, "Fresh cuts, $8. No judgments." He handed it to Malik. "I didn't start in boardrooms. I started sweeping hair off the floor. Just like you stood outside that store. It's all connected. Every step." Malik took the photo. Held it carefully. "Do you think they'll actually change? That store, those people?" Raymond's tone shifted, softer now, but firm. "Some will. Some won't. But that doesn't matter. He sat beside his son. What matters is you don't change. Not for them. Not ever. Int. Malik's bedroom later that night. Malik sat at his desk looking at the photo again. On the wall now the same Jordans from the store placed on a small shelf. Not as a trophy but as a reminder. He took a pen and wrote on a sticky note. Worth is not something they give you. And stuck it to the mirror. His reflection stared back, calm, proud, grounded. EXT, City Street, next morning. Malik walked to school with headphones in. Confident, upright. People looked, but he didn't lower his eyes anymore. Behind him, a poster on a bus stop read. Everyone belongs. Raymond Pierce Foundation. Int. Store a flash moment. Back at the boutique, a new employee, young, black, about Malik's age, welcomed an elderly white woman with a smile. Welcome in, ma'am. Let me know if I can help. The woman smiled back. Change doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it walks in quietly, like dignity. EXT Community Center, Day. A freshly renovated building stood in the heart of the neighborhood. Bright banners fluttered in the breeze. The Raymond Pierce Foundation, building equity one step at a time. Kids of all backgrounds poured into the center. Inside, classrooms, mentorship spaces, tech labs. Among them, Malik walked confidently through the hallway, now wearing a volunteer badge. He greeted younger students with a smile, showed one of them how to use a 3D printer. You ever build your own sneaker design before? Nah, the boy replied. They wouldn't let me in those stores anyway. Malik smiled. Then we'll build our own store. They both laughed. Int. Foundation wall, moments later. A mural spanned the far wall. It showed the silhouette of a father and son walking side by side. Above them, written in bold letters. Don't judge what you don't know. Don't fear what you don't understand. Below the mural, a glass plaque bore names, one of them. Malik Pierce, Youth Leadership Advisor. Int. Raymond's office evening. Raymond sat at his desk, finishing a letter by hand, no computer, just pen on paper. Voiceover as he writes. Legacy isn't measured in how much you make. It's measured in how much you correct. In what you rebuild. In what you leave behind for the ones who come after. He signs it, folds it, and places it in an envelope marked. To my son. EXT, City Street, night. Malik walked past the boutique where it all started. The glass was cleaner now. Posters more inclusive. Inside, a diverse staff, friendly and professional. He stopped for a moment, looked in, then smiled and kept walking. He didn't need to go in anymore. Int. Malik's room, final scene. Back home, Malik pinned a newspaper clipping to his wall. Teen targeted by store discrimination helps launch National Equity Initiative. Next to it, the sticky note he wrote days ago still stuck to the mirror. Worth is not something they give you. He looked at himself again. Older now? Not by years, but by everything he'd walked through.